Hey folks, Dr. Lee here with the Alpha Mega Biz Dev Podcast. So welcome back and thank you for tuning in. And if you're looking for small business tips, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur and you're looking to improve your business with new, innovative, and also fundamental strategies, this is the right place. I'm also a chiropractor, to be specific, and a lot of this information will apply to not only small business owners, but specifically, I'm going to make sure I give love to my chiropractic business owners because I know how much of a challenge it can be being in business as a chiropractor in this real world. So on this episode number 3, what I'm going to tackle is the topic of, do you have high staff turnover? And is the problem them or you? Okay, so this is an extremely common issue that comes up in our chiropractic business world. And in coaching and consulting chiropractors, I've addressed this many, many times. And the easiest thing for chiropractors who own a business and manage a team is typically a small team of maybe 1, 2, 3, with medium to larger size chiropractic office, it could be 5 to 7 employees. But this is a small team. It's like a small family. If there's a revolving door and employees tend to leave, quit, not stay very long, maybe 6 months, a year, maybe a year and a half at the most, and it's just like constantly you're having to rehire, retrain, and there's no stability or long-term players. You really have to ask, is it the people out there that are no good? Because this is a problem that's been going on for a long time, not just in recent years. Yes, probably in recent years, more chiropractic business owners are blaming it on the newer generation having a short attention span, social media, things like that, really affecting people's ability to focus and work hard. But I think this dates back even before, this generation. And so the easy thing to do is to say that there's really, a poor quality of people out there, that there just aren't any more good people like back in the day that you can hire and keep for long term. Well, I would beg to differ because in my practice, we have players that have been with us for a long time. I like to call it our A team. And whenever we do have people leave for whatever reason, sometimes it's good reasons, we are able to rehire A players and plug that hole into our team lineup. So the hard thing for chiropractic business owners to do is to really look in the mirror and admit, hey, maybe it's me, right? It's usually an ego thing and pride thing that, hey, it can't be me, right? I'm a doctor, especially in the chiro world. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I went to school for a long time. I'm intelligent. I help patients get well. And, I know what I'm doing. I can run my business. And I've got, people who are very non-qualified that just can't cut it. So either I have to fire them or they quit, right? And with Facebook, I'm part of some Facebook groups, and there's actually jokes that go around when certain doctors, have staff that don't last very long. There's actually jokes that are made about, hey, this one didn't last more than a day or two, right? So I would challenge those doctors to really look at yourself in the mirror and see, could it possibly be all those employees that one after another just are horrible, right? Because that either means that you're just really unlucky in your community and you attract the worst people, or your hiring process isn't where it should be, and so you're not able to find great qualified people, or it's the training process that is not where it needs to be. So I'm going to actually say it is usually you, or if it's me, it would be me. If it was my problem, it would be me, the business owner. And I speak from personal experience in my career, early in my career. So I think I need to go back to that point in my career. We're talking about, I've been in practice for about 22 years now. So in my 6th year, I finally got into my own office, and I was a terrible leader and manager of my team in the beginning. And I did have a staff turnover issue because I was an authoritarian type of leader. I was like a dictator. I was, ruling with an iron fist. And I'm actually going to have my editor pop in a photo right here, if possible, of me ruling with an iron fist, just for some laughs. But in the beginning, that first year or two, I was pretty bad. I was very reactive. I would immediately, once I saw my employees making a mistake or an error, and it could be a minor error, I was so on edge, so focused on building my business that I would pull the employee aside to a back office, explain what they did wrong, reprimand them, try to train them right then on their spot how to fix it. And what that did was it made my early staff and team walk on eggshells around me. They did not want to be around me, and people quit. So after seeing this with one or two, or I'm not sure how many employees I lost in that first year or two, I realized I think I'm the problem. And a lot of it has to do with my natural personality type. And that has a lot to do with it, which I'm going to go into a little bit deeper on this episode. But I am naturally what's called a driver personality. And, I usually am task-driven, goal-oriented, and I want to get things done. And I want to get things done now. I'm not patient. And I especially wasn't patient back then in that first year of having my own chiropractic office. So I realized that natural tendency of being impatient, wanting to correct errors in employees right away, not taking the time to really do it in the right time and place in a constructive manner. I realized, I had to be humble and accept that that was a major fault of mine. So what did I do? I sought help. I didn't try to figure it out myself. I had a mentor at the time who was actually consulting me in my chiropractic business. And so I turned to him for help and solutions. And, he is, and was back when he was coaching me, very, calm demeanor and genuine, nice man. And so he taught me a lot about that and how to use that type of personality in your team environment. I also learned from my father. So my father used to run a big business back in Korea, and he had a large team. I think probably close to 100 employees, and I would follow him to the office. When I'd go on a college vacation times, I'd go back and visit them because they had moved back there, and I was finishing college in the U.S. And I would just kind of follow him and see how he ran his business, and he ran it extremely, in an extremely calm and controlled manner. I never saw him get upset. I never saw him raise his voice or lose his cool. Never get mad at an employee, at his team. Everything was very just smooth and controlled, and he never let his emotions get the best of him. So with these two mentors, my first chiropractic consultant, my father, who was doing well in business at the time, and just so that I'm transparent, he came from, we immigrated to California, U.S. in 1980 when I was just 3 years old from South Korea, and basically started all over. My dad had a good job in Korea, but they felt that they could create a better life for us, following the American dream. And so they basically had to start all over. And so it was very humbling for my father and my mother with, limited English, and they had to basically learn everything all over again. And so I had to kind of start from the bottom, and the typical Korean American story. My father and my mother had a liquor store. Then they also had a dry cleaner, and then finally got a great opportunity to go back to Korea and join an old college friend and start his own business. So The point I'm making with that is my dad came from humble beginnings as well. So I don't want viewers to think that my dad just was always doing great. He worked hard for it too. So I also saw that in my lifetime of how he worked so hard to make a better life for us, and he eventually had a really good business in Korea towards his later years. So I got to witness all that. And so then when I learned that, I realized I needed to focus on my employees' needs, because that's what my father told me. He said, you have to take really good care of your people. If you take really good care of them, they will work hard for you. And that wasn't how I initially approached my business. I worried about what I needed and what was important with my goals in my practice building. And either my team was going to be on board, or they were going to be let go, or they would just quit, right? So once I realized that I need to focus on their needs, my employees' needs, everything changed, okay? And this came from two key things, I believe, in my career. One is really understanding those personality types that, hey, I'm a driver, but not everyone's like me. And so there's lots of different personality assessment companies out there and methods, but the one that I use, which is Social Styles from Traycom, and I'll leave a link in the description. But what I did was I really studied and learned the four main personality types that human beings typically possess. We're usually dominant in one personality type and usually secondary in another. So myself, I'm a high, what's called driver, which I explained a little bit earlier. Then I'm an analytical type second, which means I like to be organized. I like data, I like information, I like things in order. Then you also have the expressive type, which is someone who typically likes to express themselves. So they're good at talking, they're very social, life of the party. This could also be people in the entertaining world, actors, singers, musicians, but people who are very good at expressing, right? And then you also have your amiable type. Amiables are more in tune with feelings. They're very good with human touch and making sure everyone's okay, making sure they keep the peace and don't rub anyone the wrong way. So the world is full of all four types. And again, we can be usually dominant one, secondary another, and you might even also have people who are very even across all four. Okay, you can also have people who can adapt and be more one of the personality types with certain situations. So when I learned these personality types, I realized that my employees all came in different personality types, and I had to adapt to them. I had to become versatile to them and not expect all of them to adapt to my needs. And so you probably heard of something called the Golden Rule, which means, it's been an old saying, treat others how you would want to be treated. Okay. Now, that sounds good at first, but if you really think about it, that is a little bit self-centered. It's still about what your needs are first, self. And if you do this the wrong way, then you can get a negative outcome, not an outcome or result that you want. So I learned it is better to practice something called the platinum rule. Now, if you know your precious metals, platinum is more valuable, more expensive than gold. So the platinum rule says you should treat others how they would want to be treated. Okay. So if I'm a driver and I've got someone who is an expressive type in front of me, I should talk to them and let them express themselves. Let them talk more, talk first if possible. And that lets that person immediately feel that I am talking to them in their language. I'm letting them be more comfortable in the conversation. If I had, say, an analytical type, which for a chiropractic small business is usually your billing person, your accounting person in the office, good with numbers and data and being organized. When I talk to them about something or an issue, I got to make sure that we cover all the facts and data, okay? Because they like that. then they can make decisions or process it and comprehend before they make a solution or attempt a solution. If I've got an amiable personality, then I must make sure that I check in with how they feel. Hey, how do you feel about what happened? Tell me your thoughts and feelings. Or I have to make sure I compliment and praise them and give them affirmation that, hey, I'm thankful for all the hard work you've been putting in. So once I realized that I could understand these personality types at a much higher level, then I was really able to become a better leader of my team. Okay. Now I said there are two key things. That was the first. Understanding personality types was number one for me in trying to become a better leader and not have so much staff turnover. The second thing was conducting one-on-one individual meetings. And this is something that I very specifically teach my chiropractic business clients how to do effectively, but it's something that typically isn't done in most small businesses. Most small businesses and chiropractic practices will do a weekly staff meeting. Like everyone gets together for about an hour once a week to go over, things, go over numbers and talk about issues going on. But I'm talking about doing a one-on-one individual meeting, and it doesn't take long. We're talking about 10 to 15 minutes. And so this would be you, the chiropractic business owner, or any small business owner, sitting down with your junior level staff every week, once a week, like clockwork, and never missing it. It has to be very, very consistent and mandatory, so that you can have that 15 minutes every week together. And there's a certain structure to this, which we won't get into or have time on this podcast episode. But if you do this right, what this does is it allows the employees to have a good, healthy, working professional relationship with the owner and leader and team manager. And this can be taught to managers. So it doesn't just have to be you, the business owner, but if you've got a higher level employee who you've deemed the manager or office manager, you can teach them how to conduct these one-on-one meetings. So again, if you take these two items, one is understanding personality types, two, conducting consistently week after week individual one-on-one meetings where you do things like compliment and praise for their good work, actually recognizing what they've done well. But you can also address issues. You can address minor issues, sometimes major issues, and it lets them come to you with their questions and their concerns, them to ask you for more training where it's needed, for you to give them training where you think it's needed. It just creates a really healthy communication. The communication lines are open basically by doing this. So when I started doing this, then year after year after year, I realized, hey, I'm actually creating a positive team culture and office environment here. I am no longer ruling with an iron fist and being a dictator and being reactive with my emotions. Because I would get mad, that first year I would get, if they didn't do something right, if a new patient phone call wasn't done right, I was immature. I would get mad. I think I was, how old was I? I was probably 29, 30 at the time, Men mature slower, right? So it took me some time to mature. But yeah, so once I started doing these two key things, I saw that I had happy employees, a happy team. They really, I could tell they liked being there. They were really part of our overall goal as a practice. They were helping us build. They were staying year after year after year. Okay. And so one thing that I'm very good and have been known for is staff retention. So we have one staff member currently has been with me going on 14 years and started at a very, entry level position and has now become one of our managers. And then we had another individual who stayed with us for about 12 years until about a year ago. She finally left and to pursue her own small business. And she actually did thank us and give us credit that she felt that she was able to take that next step in her life professionally because of the way that our office ran and all the things that she learned from being a part of our team and our business and our practice. So if you are, again, having a real issue with employees leaving one after another, what I recommend and urge and maybe even challenge you to do is one, really dig deep and learn personality types. Okay? Because you can not only apply this to employees in your business, you can also apply this to patients or customers, right? Because in a chiropractic practice, we get people in all shapes and sizes, all personality types. So if you've got a driver who's a little bit more impatient and wants things a certain way, you can learn how to communicate with them. You typically want to give them choices and give them a sense of control, right? Like always giving them 2 or 3 appointment options, for times. But you can do this with patients, which then allows you and your team, I highly recommend you eventually train your team all about personality types, then you typically have far less issues. Your team is able to always know how to navigate certain stressful communication moments in a way that ends up in a positive outcome that makes that patient or customer happy. Okay, but you, the business owner, again, if you're having a staff turnover issue, by learning personality types and then practicing regular individual one-on-one meetings, I promise you will start to see a happier, healthier team that wants to be there, that loves showing up for work, that wants to be part of your team, that wants to be led by you, and they will continue to start looking up to you. They're going to hold you up on a pedestal that, hey, you are a great leader, right? You're very controlled. You don't get upset. If there is issues, you address it in these controlled meetings, and you'll start to have employees that stay 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a decade. Okay, and I can remember one chiropractic business client about 5, 6 years ago. In particular, one issue she had was staff turnover. She had a really good practice. I think she was collecting $900,000 a year, close to $1 million practice, which is a great practice in chiropractic. But her big problem was she couldn't keep a team together. She was constantly rehiring and retraining new people. And the main focus with this chiropractor worked with her for a full year, and it was really to focus on teaching her how to be a better leader and team manager. And so we focused on personality types. We focused on her conducting these one-on-one meetings, and just by doing that, her team started to be happier, staying. She wasn't getting people quitting. And just the very next year, she was able to eclipse that $1 million collections mark just by that, just by addressing her leadership skills and team management skills. So, going back to the original question, do you have high staff turnover? Is a problem them or you? The common denominator typically is you or us, the business owner. I went through it, so I can say from experience, it was definitely me. It wasn't them, and I was to blame. But I'm so happy that I went through that experience early in my career and not later, and I was able to get the help that I needed and figure out some key pieces so that I could become a better leader going forward. And now we have a great team at our office, and really an A-team staff-driven practice that I can leave and trust and leave for periods of time and not have to worry that anything's going to be wrong. Okay, so that is hopefully something that will bring you value if you're having any turnover issues. If you don't have turnover issues, I applaud you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep remaining to be a great leader of your team, but still work on it. You never want to just get complacent and rest on your laurels and not work on leadership. Still work on how you can become an even better leader. Okay, but if you are having turnover issues, please try to do those 2 key things that I talked about. Learn about personality types. And again, the link I'll leave, it's Social Styles by Traycom. Great company, great resources. And then conduct those one-on-one meetings. Okay, and I will also leave a link for that as well. I'm going to leave a link to I have a free resource guide, a free training video, and some PDF downloads on how to conduct a one-on-one meeting. So there you go. So you're going to have links to both of those resources to get you going. All right. So I will catch you guys on the next podcast episode. Dr. John Lee with Alpha Mega Consulting. This is the Alpha Mega Biz Dev Podcast, and I'll catch you next time.